Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Wave Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am your host, the Conn Man, and with me this evening, I have one of my great friends. I have been looking forward to doing this for a long time. My man, his name is Jimmy D. How you doing, Jimmy?
Hi, Michael. How are you? Good to see you.
Well, I'm honored to have you on the show. And before we go into, what we really want to talk about, I want to let the folks know a little bit of the story. First and foremost, Jimmy is the head video person for the Patriots. For now, Jimmy, I have dyslexia and I have dementia. So,
Me too.
I told you the show was going to be like that. According to my calculations, I think you started in 1936. Whatever. But anyway, it dates back to I had gone to Bishop Stang High School, which is a school out here in Dartmouth, Mass. And that's where I first came across Mr. Jimmy D and the whole crew. I happened to play for a coach who was, I'll say, authentic. I'll leave that alone. Mr. John O'Brien, we all know about him. God bless his soul. Then, I was unsure where I was going to go to college. And a guy by the name of Mickey Gonzalez, really pushed for me and spoke to Coach Greeley from Framingham State. And they recruited me, and I ended up going to Framingham State. And then when I get to Framingham State, I bring along Sonny Silver, David Heltman, Tony DePina, the whole crew. And during my travels, I see Jimmy D. I said, what's going on, man? I feel like he's stalking me or something. So, you know what I mean? And then there was another individual, I think his name was Cilio.
Danny Cilio, yep.
Hey, folks, this dude was like a slot back. He was quarterback, and he was unbelievable, man. He was like a mechanic.
He's in the Hall of Fame there. He led the nation in interceptions one year.
He was small. He looked like a little bit like a Doug Flutie type. Maybe I'm right. Maybe
right. So
I matriculate again to Framingham State. Then I find out Jimmy D has his own sports show. It's Talk Sports. Remember that? Yeah. And then he invites me on that as well. And I could barely speak English. I still can't speak English. But we did the show. We had a great time. And then we had a lot of fun. And then he's a little older than me. And he eventually graduated from Framingham State. And I still did my thing at Framingham. And then, we met back here in New Bedford. And I got to see him a couple of times. And, he was contemplating what he wanted to do next. And that's where the story begins. So, Mr. Jimmy D, my good friend, my good pal, can you let the folks know from that point on what transpired and what made you decide to do what you did?
Sure.
The floor is there.
In 1994, I joined the Patriots in the video department under head coach Bill Parcells. And, we were all tape, we were all, in videotape and stuff like that. And then Bill left. I went to my first Super Bowl with Bill Parcells. And then Pete Carroll came in. And I worked for Pete for 3 years. And then the greatest coach of all time came in, Bill Belichick. And I worked for Bill up till last week. And, no regrets whatsoever.
Now, I want you to give the viewers the difference when you began until now, because when you first started, I know prior to that, the Patriots had a terrible record, and under I forgot Ray, what's his name, Ray?
Oh no, I think I just drew a blank right there. Yeah, they won one game or something like that, and then Bill came in. Yeah.
When you came on, what were the conditions like? Let the people know.
Yeah, it's Mike. It's changed unbelievably in the 30 years. It's not even close. We walked into the old Foxborough Stadium and we worked in the basement. We worked in a locker room in that place, and that place was something else. It was all tape. It was all videotape. And then in like 1998, they came in with computers. So the computer guy comes into my office. He puts a PC on my desk and says, "Here you go." I go, "What the hell is that?" So, and ever since then, it just matriculated into digital format. So we went from, tapes to digital format, and the digital stuff just keeps going and going and going. And like right now, I mean, if you died in 94 and came back to life today and were in video back then, you would say, what the heck is this? I mean, it's all computers, it's all IT. I run a computer network now, instead of like tape decks. So, it's really, the advances are crazy. And, it's all for the good. The coaches, it makes their life a lot easier, made our life a lot harder, especially trying to figure out, how these computers worked in the late 90s up till now. But now you hire kids and all they're doing is, computers anyway. So, it really, Mike, I'm telling you, it really changed. It really changed.
We're gonna get into it now. Now, Jim, what I want you to, if you could, talk about. I mean, here you come, Framingham, back out here in New Bedford, and now y'all working for the Patriots with
Yeah.
all celebrities and
Yeah.
football.
That was pretty well, Mike.
Like that's what I want to know.
Well, I'll tell you how it all happened too, because now I was had a little video business in New Bedford, and predominantly started videotaping weddings, and I got good at that. I was really good at that. And then I worked for J.J. Taylor in Dartmouth, the beer company. They went on strike, and I said, I'm done. And I was doing the video, so I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna just try to start this business. So I went into video full time. I left my beer job, and I learned how to edit. I learned how to film. I learned how to light, how to mic. And I went down to the old Wayland City Cable, the old Wayland City Cable TV, and I bought like 30-minute time because, they used to have that drive-by show, and she used to drive, 30-minute. Remember that show? Well, yeah. So I started my own shows. I bought 30 minutes of time from, maybe once a day it would be on. And I went around. My first show was a wedding show about weddings. It's called The Wedding Specialist. And I went to all the photographers and whites of Westport and tuxes and gowns and flowers. And, I sold them time, like 5 minutes. And I did it like an evening magazine thing where I had these girls who would do interviews. So I had to write, I had to sell it, I had to write it, I had to film it, and then I had to edit it. And then I had to get it out to, so I did that. And that was going really good. I had the wedding specialist, and I had the entertainer where I went into restaurants and bars and all that stuff. And things were good. But then one day I was having lunch, and I was reading the Globe, and the article said, congratulations to Dave Sotheby, the assistant video director for the New England Patriots, is taking a head job with the Carolina Panthers. So I saw that and I said, they might need somebody. So I put a resume together. I said, I'd love to work for the Patriots. I had season tickets at the time and all that stuff. And so I put a resume together and I sent it up to Foxborough. And after I sent it, I found out who the video director was. It was Kenny Deininger. And I called Foxborough, the Patriots, and I was surprised because they connected me to him. And I said, hey, Kenny, my name's Jimmy D. I sent you a resume. And he said, oh, okay, Jimmy, thanks. Because there was an opening and there was like 100 applicants. Wow. But I called him, Mike, I swear to God, I called him every day. And, I said, I don't want to be a pain in the butt, but I'm interested in this job. And I got an interview, and then I called him every day again. And my second interview, I go up there, and he starts showing me the meeting rooms and all that stuff. And I go, did I get the job? He goes, yeah, I'm hiring you. So it was like, wow. And then you see Parcells walking down the hall. You see Robert Kraft in the hallway. And so all of a sudden I went from dealing with Richard LaFrance at White's, who I love, and and now I'm dealing with Robert Kraft and Bill Parcells. So that was. But as the years went on, Mike, one thing that I realized is we park in the players' lot every day, so they, we're all in the same parking lot. And the only difference between those guys and staff guys like me is the cars they drive. I'm driving a Honda Accord. These guys are in Maseratis. But when you get into you get into the building, and
Right.
these guys are just like you and me. There's really no difference with these guys. They're just professional athletes. That's their job.
Could you bring us back to like a little bit of memory lane, when it was like doing your first practice, your first game, videotaping all?
That was I'll know. Hey, I will never forget that, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's why I got you on, my brother.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny, back in the day, we would have to film practice on 45-foot scissor lifts. You know how they go up? You see in construction sites, and they're painting off these lifts and stuff like that. That's what we practice. We shot practice off of those. It didn't matter if it was windy or what. I mean, it was you're going up there, and so that was my first practice up. It was OTAs, and I was so scared. I had to shoot the one-on-ones, O-line, D-line stuff. I didn't want to mess it up. And, you'd never forget that first practice. And then my first game was, I started out in the NFL. You have the all 22 shot, which is the coach's film that they show on these TV shows. They say, this is the coach's shot. They show everybody in it. So whenever you see one from Gillette, that would be my shot. And then they have a second shot is an end zone shot, which goes from tight end to tackle. So now you take the sideline shot and the end zone shot of the same play and you edit them. That's how so they could see the sideline, then the end zone. So my first shooting location was the end zone. And we shot against it was preseason in August against the New Orleans Saints. And a guy named Albert Icon was the Saints guy. And it was me. And it was like, wow, this is unbelievable, because you get so jacked, your heart's beating. You don't want to miss anything. You know what I mean? And you have to do it the way they want it. So it one thing about the NFL is it's always pressure, no matter what. Preseason game, Super Bowl, whatever. You gotta get your stuff right.
Let's fast forward a little bit. You said you started in 94, correct?
Yeah, 94.
So that was 6 years before the Brady era.
Right. That's right. It was with Bledsoe.
Okay. Since you brought that up, I got a little bit of historical stuff about that. Anyway, tell us about how that was. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Patriots had the first pick in the 1993 NFL draft, selected quarterback Drew Bledsoe from Washington State. They also drafted linebacker Chris Slade.
Yep. Chris Slade.
Yeah.
Love
yep.
him.
Bledsoe started the season as a starting quarterback, but was injured and replaced with former Dolphins backup Scott Secules.
Yeah, Secules. Scott Secules. Yeah.
And then it went on to that, and then they talked about games like that, and then it talked about the 93-94 offseason. Bob Kraft buys the team.
And I had Jimmy D.
Here we go. Oh, come on. Not in computers. Throughout the 1993 season, rumors continued that the team was going to move to St. Louis. In the 1993 offseason, the issue reached its climax. Arthline, I guess he must have been the owner of somewhere, offered Rob Kraft, the team's landlord since 1988, $75 million to break the lease on Foxborough Stadium, which bound the team to continue playing here until at least 2002. However, Kraft refused. I'm sure you know about all this.
Yeah.
The Arthline was not willing to continue operating the team in New England and put it up for sale. Kraft knew that the team terms of the operating covenant required any potential buyer to deal with him, which in his mind he staged that announced to a hostile takeover of the Patriots, offering to buy the team himself for a then NFL record $160 million.
Imagine that.
No. Not at all. In 1994. Although future St. Louis, Los Angeles Rams owner Stan Kroenke, my dyslexia is kicking in. Offered more than Kraft, Arthline would have been saddled with as much as $20 million in relocation costs. I don't want to keep boring you with that.
Yeah, but I'll tell you a couple of stories about that, Mike. when Robert bought the team, he bought it before. I was one of the first guys hired after he bought the team, so
Okay.
I was there the same time as as long as Mr. Kraft's been there. But when he was smart. He owned the stadium, so Orthwein had nothing to do. I mean, he had to pretty much sell it to him. Long story short, but
Okay.
he also bought the racetrack. There was a racetrack right next to the old stadium.
Remember
Okay.
that.
And he had a big deal with it. It was Eddie Andelman who owned that too. He was
Ah,
remember him, Eddie? So Kraft, they went to court and Kraft won, and they got the racetrack, and that's where he built the stadium. So that's now the stadium's where the old racetrack was. And
wow.
I'll never forget. I remember they were talking about, moving the Patriots to Connecticut and this and that. And when they announced that we were staying, I was playing golf with Andre Tippett at Pecoy Brook. And man, we were so happy that we weren't going to Hartford, Connecticut. You know what I mean? It was something else. But Mr. Kraft is a smart man. He played that perfectly. He really did.
We're going to talk a little bit about that, but now I'm going back to just a little bit because I want to let people know that, like, I know what I'm doing, which I really don't. Yeah, but you already know that. Pete Carroll was fired as head coach in January 2000,
Right.
and owner Robert Kraft attempted to hire Jets assistant head coach Bill Belichick. Interesting. For the Patriots head coaching position. Belichick had been an assistant coach on the Parcells with the Patriots in 1996, but followed Parcells to the Jets. I didn't even know that. I had no idea.
Yep.
Oh, and then talk about Belichick's season as head coach, but resigned at a press conference the following day. I know you guys know about that. That must have been wild.
That was wild. I was sitting in the same room. I was sitting in the same room when Bill left, and I'm saying to myself, "This is the best thing that could ever happen to us." Because Bill was with us in '96, and so when you're an assistant coach, Mike, and like the head coach is different, but when you're an assistant coach, like I used to go into Romeo Crennel and Bill Belichick shared an office. Romeo was a defensive line coach, and Bill was the defensive back coach, assistant head coach in '96, and that's when we went to my first Super Bowl when we got beat by Green Bay. But Bill was the defensive back coach, so I was always in their office just messing around with them, and then all of a sudden Bill comes back as the head coach. Now that was the best thing. I mean, that press conference you just talked about with the Jets, when he said he was stepping down to come to New England, man, I was so happy about that because I knew Bill well. Yes. And then I'll tell you a little funny story about this.
Okay.
And I told this to Bill too. And he gets introduced the night before. The next day, I'm down in the old stadium. I'm in the weight room on the treadmill with the strength coach, Johnny Parker, who was a great friend of mine, who worked with Belichick with the Giants when he was an assistant coach and they won 2 Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. So whenever you have a new coaching staff come in, they come in and they interview the existing staff if they're going to keep them or not. So we're thinking Johnny worked with Bill, So Johnny goes up, got to talk to you. He says, well, Jimmy D, got to go talk to the head coach. He goes upstairs. 2 minutes later, he's downstairs. He looks at me. He goes, nice working with you, Jimmy D. Head coach is going another direction. Oh. I go, what?
Wow.
I go, oh, my goodness. So I go upstairs like maybe a half hour later. And the head coach's office is here. And then there's a big area, outside area near the door, like a walking way. And I see Bill for the first time. And he's outside the office. So I go up to him, hey, coach, congratulations. And I tell him, back in the day, you had all tapes. So we had like the Combine and the Senior Bowl and the Blue Gray Bowl and all these bowls. And I told him, I said, Bill, I put all these tapes behind your desk. They're all in order. You should have no problem getting them. He looks at me straight in the eye, Michael, and he says, and this is right after he fired Johnny. He looks at me and he says, Jim, Now you're making me feel guilty. He turns around and walks in the office. So I go downstairs to Donnie Brocha, who was the equipment guy at the time. I go, Donnie, I tell Donnie the story. Donnie looks at me and goes, better you than me. Because I thought I was getting fired. And that was the weekend of it was a great Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl weekend. It was the Rams and the Titans. That game came down to the last play of the game. And I'm sitting in my new house. I just bought a house. And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to go in there tomorrow and I'm getting fired. And I go in and I didn't get fired. Bill just said I made him feel guilty for not watching tape. I'm telling you, man, I thought I was done. I thought I was toast because you never know in this league, People get fired every day.
I know. And before we get into the Brady and Belichick, I want the viewers to get an idea like what a normal average day is for what your duties are. And how do you know where to look on the field? How do you know who organizes up? Give us a little.
Okay. So, for me, for the last 30 years, I'm out I live in New Bedford. I'm never left New Bedford, never will. And, I would leave the house between 5 and 5:15 every morning to get there for 6, and like then I'd leave Foxborough, this is a regular week, Monday through Friday. Then you work on the weekends too. For Saturday, you work and then you travel if you're on the road, and you play Sunday. Then you come back to work. But you'd work probably at least maybe I'd say 12 to 15 hours a day during the season, and and that Mike, that's 7 days a week. So you're doing that, and then you're getting. The Saturdays, if you're on the road, you have meetings in the morning. You have to pack the truck, with all the video equipment and, all this stuff. The truck goes to the airport about 2 hours earlier, loads up the plane. We all get on buses with like 4 or 5 buses. We, go to the airport, get on the plane, fly to, say, Miami, get off the airplane, unpack the equipment we need because we set up meeting rooms in a hotel. So we'll roll in the trunks, set up 3 meeting rooms, with projectors and laptops and stuff like that. And they'll start their meetings at like 7 at night till about 9. Then we'll break that stuff down. In the morning, we'll pack it up, put it on the truck, have pregame meal, get on the bus, go to the game. Go to the game, set up your equipment in the booth, and make sure everything's set, film the game. Now during the game you edit it because it's all computerized, put it on iPads for all the coaches that can watch it on the plane, pack up your stuff, hopefully get a shower in, and it's like an hour. You're out of there in an hour. Get on the bus, get onto the airport, fly back home, get off on the plane to the bus, back to Foxborough, and then we go right to work. So in the tape days, you'd work 4 or 5 hours after you got back. Now with, digital video, you only make an hour because you have to send the game you just played out to NFL Films and your next opponents. So it's crazy. And I did that for 30 years. And the other one is like you shoot the same thing that the other guy shoots. Everything's correlated between teams. So they'll have a video guy with me, like the Dolphins guy will shoot with me, and then the end zone guys will shoot together. And so we're shooting the same exact thing, the same way, everything. So it's all standardized that way. But it's crazy, Mike. It's a crazy way to make a living.
That's why I want you on the show to let the people know. They think it's all Hollywood and you guys bust your ass. So you guys really put that.
Not for us. It is for the players and the coaches. But for us, man, we work. And like, for instance, you go to you play a Sunday night. Well, we played in Denver. We played Christmas Eve night in Denver. All right. I got home to my house on Christmas morning at 9 a.m. It's the way it is. But and you know what the good thing about it was? At least we didn't play on Christmas. That's how you get through it. That's how you get through it. But it's hard.
it's a testament to your wife and kids as well,
You
because
aren't
they don't
kidding.
see it much, and your kids are great. I
Yeah,
already know that.
yeah, my kids, yeah, they're good. I've been very fortunate that they've let me, have them work with me at times. So, which is, great. Like James had been working on the sideline since he was 10, so he handed the prince to Belichick and the pitches. So he's had it nice. My other son John, he's been doing the same thing for the last 5-6 years. So I've been fortunate. The Crafts are great. They've been a great organization. Very good to me.
Now I remember, because I do referee at the Burgo Basketball
Yeah.
Association, and Jimmy D yelled at me a couple of times. I almost had to throw him out
Well, that's normal though, Mike.
I know, but the reason why I brought it up is because I wanted to ask you. I remember talking to you, and I mentioned. I said, something. I said, Jimmy, man, how is Belichick? And you said some things to me that I want the viewers to know, because they see one side of Mr. Belichick. You know the real side. So
Yeah.
I thought you could. Can you just give I know you can't say too much, but can you give an insight on Mr. Bill Belichick of the perception? Because they say perception is reality. Not all of it.
No, I mean, Belichick, I love him. I mean, I don't, I don't want to work for anybody else. Bill Belichick is, he's tough, but he is so straightforward. There's no bullshit with him. And it's like you go in there. If you don't want to make a lot of mistakes, but if you make a mistake, he understands. He said everybody makes mistakes, Jimmy. I mean, he isn't overpowering with us. He trusts us. He's funny as hell too, but he's so driven, and that's how you have to be in the NFL. Like, I worked for Bill for like 25 years, and I'd see him in the hallway, and it just me. He'd be going one way, I'd be going the other, and it was like, "Hey, Bill, how you doing?" And he'd keep walking with his head down, and 10 steps later, he'd stop, turn, and go, "Oh, hey, Jim, how are you?" I mean, hey, remember Danny Pyers?
Very well.
Bill
Yes,
went to his funeral.
sometimes.
Bill went to his funeral. Came down
Really?
to New Bedford.
No way.
Yeah, Bill went to his funeral. He went to Danny's funeral. It was at St. Lawrence. Yeah, that's Bill Belichick.
You had also told me a story about I don't want to mess it up, but someone in your family was feeling ill, and he kept questioning to make sure.
Well, when my parents died,
Yes,
I mean, he was right on it, and so wasn't Mr. Kraft. I mean, they called me and just making sure I was all right and stuff like that. No, I'll tell you when Robert called me, I was picking up my kids from school, and I hadn't told them that their grandmother had died yet. And Robert called me, condolences, and it was kind of loud on the phone while I'm driving. And my youngest John says, "Did Nana die?" Because Robert was offering his condolences to me.
Right.
I said, "Yeah, he did. Yeah, she did." But yeah, great organization, great people. I mean, it's you don't see it on TV or on the news or anything like that. But these are great men. They really are. And Belichick's the best.
What's the biggest misconception that you would like to dispel about Coach Belichick?
Well, I think when he gives his press conferences, he's not going to give you anything. He's not because listen, he's a secretive guy. He doesn't want to. He's a Navy guy. Really, he grew up in Annapolis. His father, he grew up at the Naval Academy. And loose lips sink ships. So why would he want to give any secret to the media? And over the years, that got those guys all mad and pissed off about it. But it worked for him. And like Danny Pyers was part of the media, and he didn't give Danny anything, but he went to his funeral.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean that's Bill Belichick. I'll never have anything bad to say about him. Now, there's a lot of people who will.
Oh, yes.
Because, like, people he fired or people he cut or whatever, they have a stick up their butts. But that's, personally, I love them.
What do you think? Okay, we're going to bring up Brady in a little bit, but what do you think? Well, we kind of have an idea, but why do you think Mr. Kraft and Belichick came to, I guess, a mutual agreement that maybe it was his time to leave?
I think it was mutual. I think that they were together for a long time, and it was just like it was pretty much just time to part ways. And I think part of it is, Jonathan's going to be taking over more, and I think he wants to put his thumbprint on the organization, which he should. I mean, now it's so it's going to be a youth movement over there, and that's fine. I mean, and I know Bill's good with it too. So everything changes, Mike. Everything changed. The NFL's changed dramatically. But I think they were great. I mean, those three were tremendous together. I mean, you never get any better three than those three. And there's a lot of respect between them all, and it's just probably like time to go.
What I'd like to do too is which I didn't bring up, but you got a couple of rings.
Yeah.
You got a couple. I think I counted 1 or 2. Again, I can't see very good. Yeah. I think you got 1 or 2, maybe 8, 10, 12. Receiving them rings. What was that?
That's like, it's such a cool thing. And that's the other thing is, the Krafts and Belichick, they included all of us, my whole department, which is very rare in the NFL. In the NFL, it's usually the department heads, but they included my whole staff in this situation. They all got a ring. They all went to the parties. We're all on duck boats. They took care of us. And the first ring was, that was the best because it's the smallest one. But it was like, wow, we just won a world championship. And,
that has to be undescribable. I mean,
it really is. And the thing about it is, like, I have 10 rings total. It's because I've been to 10 Super Bowls. So if you go to a Super Bowl, if you lose, you get like a conference ring. So I got 4 AFC championship rings, which are smaller, but which are nice. And if you win, you get that big one. But every ring that I have, the beauty of it is you look at it and you just don't see a ring. You get those memories from that year that just come into your head of how hard it was in the special moments during the season, like flying back from Carolina and hoping the Jets beat the freaking Raiders and trying to get it on those little Walkmen to see if anybody can, in 2001 to see if, who's winning this game, because that's the 4:00 game. And then finding out that the Jets beat the Raiders and we're going to have the bye and we'll have a home game against the Raiders, the division game. And so that's what I see when I look at those rings, stuff like that,
And Jimmy, because I had the pleasure of speaking with Red Auerbach, and he won 800 rings, and this is most one, and he said the first. That's kind of what I wanted you to talk about.
Oh yeah. Did he say that?
Oh yes, he did. Absolutely. Oh yeah. But anyway, so what came across your mind? I mean, delving into getting the world championship and the feeling that it brought on, and I want to know what the party was like at the Krafts. That's what I want to know too.
That was they were always first class, Michael. First class. The first one was at Boston Harbor Hotel, like right on the ocean, right on the water in Boston. That was something because you're in Boston and there was all red carpet and there was all kinds of paparazzi and you think you're in the rich and famous. You know what I mean? You're walking out, into that stuff, and then it was just so beautiful, so beautifully done. But it was everybody who has been part of a special year who worked their butts off to get that. There's nothing given. I mean, like I told you, the hours that we put in. I mean, you just here's an example of that. We played at Pittsburgh in 2001, the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. We had the 6 o'clock game, which is the later game. Now, everybody in the world was picking Pittsburgh, right? So we go down there, we beat them. Now, it's, you're on the field after that and the trophy presentation. So, long story short, we didn't leave Pittsburgh till about after midnight. And we got back to Foxborough probably about 3 a.m. Now, that was 9/11 year, so there was no week in between. So I had to get all the tapes ready, had to pull out the tapes for the Rams, box that stuff up after we did, and it took like 4 hours back on tape days after a game to get that stuff ready. So at about 6 a.m, I finished everything up. I drove to New Bedford. I got a bag. I kissed my wife, and I went right back to Foxborough. Got on a plane, flew to freaking New Orleans, got into the hotel, had to set up with big tape decks and projectors, like 15 meeting rooms. Didn't finish till like 2 a.m. And that's what we did. Then I got down on Bourbon Street for a little bit.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. But that's how it was. I mean, and that's the stuff you don't see. I mean, you see the players coming off the plane with their fancy hats and their nice suits, and there's a video guy in the hotel dying because he hasn't slept yet.
And that's why, Jimmy, I wanted you on the show, because you can give the viewers a little taste of what it's really like. Because I had no idea, and I'm sure they have no idea, and you're giving them, the viewers, insight exactly what takes place and how much it takes to achieve that level of success. And you guys did it for 20 years.
Oh, and yeah, it's unbelievable.
I mean, it's a miracle.
It is, no doubt.
You had this guy, I think you had a quarterback, I think his name was Bledsoe, and he had a great year. In fact, they paid him a lot of money, if I recall, and he was playing very well.
Yeah.
He had a little incident where he got smashed on the sidelines.
Right.
I don't know, they say legal or not legal, but it was very big hit. And unfortunately, he got hurt.
Yeah.
And Coach Belichick made a decision of handing the ball off to some guy. I think he won number 12. I think his name was Tom. Yeah. That guy. That guy. And Tom did very well. I mean, Tom, of course, was a late round draft pick out of Michigan, and he had the outstanding pro combine, as we know, and so a lot of people really didn't have high expectations of this individual. And of course, we know the whole story. But at that particular time, he came on, he did a good job, and then I guess the decision had to be made by Coach Belichick. Look, I'm already paying Bledsoe all this money. Do I take a chance with the young guy, or do I stick with Bledsoe? And he made, well, you can say more than I can. Take it from there, my brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I love Drew Bledsoe. I love Drew. He was a great guy, great player. And Bill, as Bill said a million times, he was doing what was right for the football team. And he was right. Drew was a gunslinger. Drew was, he just let it fly. But at that particular time, Tom would run Bill's offense, and he would run it to a T. So, that was pretty much the decision Bill made. And it was a good decision. I'll tell you that. What, though? When we were in New Orleans, now the AFC Championship game, Brady got hurt. He hurt his ankle, and Bledsoe came in. And Bledsoe, he carried us to that victory in the second half. So now you have all that. Now you have all that controversy. Tommy's out with a bad ankle, and Drew came in and pretty much won the game. And Steelers was supposed to kill us. We weren't supposed to win that game. So when actually, like I said before, that was a game with no week in between.
Yeah.
So we had to go right down there. Well, the whole NFL thought that the Steelers were going to win too. So we get off the plane, go on the buses going into New Orleans. nothing but Steelers stuff. No Patriot stuff. No signs for the Patriots. It's all the Steelers against the Rams. We got into our hotel and they were just taken down like the big freaking signs that said Steelers. And it was the Patriots. So, that was a little added, to the fight. But
sure.
I will say this, though. Bill was, during that whole thing, that was a huge controversy. Is it going to be Bledsoe? Is it going to be Brady? And Bill's office, now we're in a hotel. And so it was like hotel rooms. And the head coach's room was right next to my video room. And there was a chair outside, and it was on I think it was Tuesday. And I saw Drew sitting in the chair out front of Bill's office. I said, well, what's going on? He goes, I'm going to find out if I'm starting or not. And I said, well, good luck, bro. And, he went in there and Bill told him, no, you're not playing. It's going to be Tom. So that's a tough world, man. It's a tough, and Drew was, he was obviously, mad about it. He wanted to play in the Super Bowl, but he was so good with Tom. You know what I mean? They were in it together, and then that's a testament to Bledsoe. And the other one is this: on Thursday, the families come down. Okay, so we get off the practice field, finish our edits for practice, and they have this big like buffet and welcome party for the families. And Drew just found out he's not going to be playing.
Right.
And me and my wife Karen, Karen's there, so I meet her. And we've known Drew. We've been to his house. And Drew and Damon Hewitt had just got some food, and Drew was leaving, the ballroom, and he saw Karen. And he like turned from leaving and came right over to us and said hello. It's Drew Bledsoe.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He could have just, he's pretty, and he just found out he's not starting the Super Bowl. And he still took the time to, come over and say hello to the video guy's wife.
Yeah.
And those are the little things that make, my career so good, is seeing these guys, who they really are, and it's not just what you see on TV. There's a lot of really good guys out there.
That's kind of why I wanted you on the show too, to not only give you your roses, but to let you dispel rumors and before because we only got this is going by so fast. What I want you to do, if you could, my brother, is you've been there for 30 years.
Right.
I would for you if you can go back in your memories, a couple of things that stood out the most. And if there's anything that maybe I didn't ask, or maybe there's something that you want to bring up that maybe I didn't ask, or now's your opportunity, my brother, man, because I guarantee this is going to be seen all over. So I want to give you your roses, and again, maybe I didn't ask the right questions, or maybe there's something that you didn't have the opportunity to say. So I'm giving it to you right now.
Oh, Mike, thanks. I think it's just been such a great career with so many memories. I mean, like I said, 10 Super Bowls. You just have so many memories of so many coaches. I mean, great guys, who you've met, like guys you've never heard of, like Jerry Shaplinsky and Nick Caley and Brian Daboll and the guys like McDaniels, and just good guys. And it was funny too, because like Josh McDaniels and Brian Daboll were young guys. Like, so this is how those guys got together. Daboll worked for Michigan State to Saban, in Nick Saban. So Daboll comes in 2000 with Bill, through Saban. Daboll brings in Josh McDaniels, who was also with Saban the next year in 2001. Then Josh McDaniels brings in Nick Caserio. Those are, I mean, you want to talk about some freaking studs,
Right.
And these guys were all young kids. And like I tell them all the time, I put your diapers on you. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, don't get freaking big with me. I freaking put your diapers on you. And so one time, it was funny because Josh went and he was a head coach with Denver, and they beat us like in overtime. and Dayball was with Cleveland with Rob Ryan and Mangini and those guys, and they beat us in Cleveland. So they both came back. After they got fired, they came back. Bill brought them back, and they're on the practice field before practice, Dayball and Josh, and they're talking about how cool it was when they beat us. And so I'm with them, and I look at him, I go, yeah. And because like Josh was doing this after it, and Dayball was chest bumping with freaking Rob Ryan. So I go, so they're talking about it. I'm just standing there and go, yeah. And you both look like asses. Look where you ended up back. Those are the guys you can do that with. They're my guys. I love them. But they grew up right in front of my eyes. That's part of it. So I guess to answer that question, Michael, was the best thing is the interaction with all the people that I've come to know over the years. And there's so many great guys, not players, but like coaches and staff and scouts.
Oh.
And they all, we all you live together. You go to training camp 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. So you know these guys, and when they leave, it's tough. So that's the best part of the job.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up your relationship with Mr. Tom Brady, because I know people are going to be like, well, how come you didn't ask him about Tom Brady? I'm going to have to ask. So give us your
love him. Just a genuine guy. You talk to him, he never big time you. He would look you right in the eye and listen to what you have to say. And I knew Tom when he just came in, when he was, just a third string, fourth string quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was always just a very respectful kid. And I tell his parents all the time when I saw him, I said, you did a great job with that kid. And that's the best way to explain that guy, who, by the way, is a competitor, who was the hardest working guy. I mean, film all day, but the nicest guy. Just the guy you really very fortunate to know, and he, like, for instance, he'd be walking down the hallway and you take a right and you see Robert, Bill, and Tom, talking. So you kind of like stuck, said, oh shit, I can't go back. And you go walk by him, and Brady would be the one to say, hey, Mr. D, how you doing? Throughout that conversation. And then Rob, hey, Jimmy, how are you? Bill, hey, Jim, what's up? But it was usually Brady who would stop and say it, So, and they, I loved them all. We lived in the golden years, of the NFL. And, and I don't have a bad word to say about anybody in that organization. I really don't.
What's your take on, again, I don't want you to, have to repeat yourself, but over 30 years. Now, it must be a testament to you because, again, you've gone through so many coaches, and a lot of times when new coaches come, they bring their own staff.
Right.
Testament to you that you still remain for over 30 years.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of trust. They trusted for, what I wanted to do. And, I think I had a reputation in the league as one of the best in the league. And, my guys, and I think it's, like Fernando Neto was with me for 25 years, Teddy Chopper and Jared Reeder, 15 years each, so, these guys stayed with me and I think part of my management skills helped that, so, and my thing also, Mike, was if the better my guys are, the better I look.
Right.
Where a lot of people will take the opposite approach. Oh, he's that guy's getting too good, too close. Got to get rid of him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. People's egos need to be checked. So that would be what I would have to say about that.
How many staff do you have under you?
Well, right now it's I have 4 full-time guys, and then on game day I have 2, 3, about 5 more guys. So yeah, it's been a good run, Mike. Yeah.
You know, we spent so much time. I could talk to you for 18 hours.
Yeah.
Is there anything, any shout outs you want to give, or is there anything that you want to state and say about your experiences working with the Patriots, or anything about your family, friends, or what
Yeah.
I
I
mean?
mean, that's like you said before, my wife's a saint,
Yes,
especially when the kids were small, and we were away a lot. I mean, it used to be a running joke that I'd be on the road and we'd get a big storm or the basement would flood or something like that, and my wife would be home by herself taking care of that and the kids. So,
right,
I mean, yeah, yeah, she was a, trooper, 100%. And, the kids they love that stuff. But, my wife was really, she was in 100%, which is, it's tough to find, you know.
absolutely. And folks, what I want to say is, I've seen Jimmy out on a couple of occasions. And let me tell you guys something. You would never know he works for the Patriots. You would never know. He don't brag. He don't say nothing. He don't wear them rings. He's just the way you see him now. Is just the way he is. It's just that he don't have to. But we know. But he doesn't have to go out there and this is him. This is how he's been since the time I met him. He hasn't changed a bit. And then we spoke on the phone the other day, and instead of him talking about the Patriots, we're talking about some guy named Mickey Gonzalez.
Yeah, best shooter of all time.
We're talking
No
about
doubt.
he is. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Mickey Gonzalez will be on my show real soon. That's who he's talking about. This guy has 30 years working with the Patriots, Brady, Belichick, the whole nine, and he's talking about a guy from New Bedford. That's how he is, and that's how I always remember him. And he hasn't changed a bit. And imagine all the stories he could tell. He's still got more stories to tell, but I
Yeah.
mean, he could probably tell a lot more. But Jim, again, I want to thank you for coming on my show,
Thanks,
and
Mike.
we appreciate you coming on so much. Before we leave, because I know they're going to ask, I'm trying to think of what my viewers would ask. What about the new coach? What do you think about him? How do
He's
you
gonna
think
do well. He'll
the
do
players?
well.
You
Yeah.
think he'll?
Yeah. I
Okay,
think, we have a big draft coming up. So it's gonna be hopefully we can hit and get some players. But Mayo's good. He's a good dude. He's a hardworking kid. He's smart kid. So he's gonna do fine. They're gonna do really well over there.
now obviously he's going to bring in his own staff, or he's going to keep most of the staff
I
that's
think
already
I think he's keeping. I think he's trying to keep as many coaches as he can.
right.
So because the coaches are doing a good job. It's just we just got to put it together, and they will. They'll get there. They'll get there.
Something I think they will. A lot of teams go through the ups and downs, and the Patriots been on that uphill for 20 years. It's a true testament to organization, the culture, and everything that contributes to all that. The staff,
Yeah,
you people.
it's something too, Mike, because when you really think about it, because we were always drafting. If we had a first round pick in those 20 years, like 28 to
Yeah,
32,
exactly.
in every round. So by the time 28 players are gone before you get to pick one.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then the second round, the same thing. 28 guys are gone, then you get a shot.
See, people don't understand that.
Oh, that's
It's
unbelievable.
but
Yeah,
you pay the price. You know what I mean? So,
pay the price, no question.
but again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to my show, Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. Again, I want to thank one of my great friends, Mr. Jimmy D. Hopefully, we'll have him on again. And again, I want to thank you for coming on, my brother. You didn't have to do that. You're a big man.
Happy to do it.
God bless.
Hey, shout out to Sonny Silva.
Absolutely. Oh, you know that. He'll be seeing this.
You better.
God bless you.
Hey,
Take care.
Mike.
Have a safe trip. Be good. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you.